Hi guys, this is Karthik from Caapid Simplified, and this video will help you understand when you must leave to the US. There are a couple of considerations that you have. Let's go through the considerations one by one, and we'll also see what are the sequence of steps a dentist who comes to the US takes to crack the DDS process. First, the steps. A typical dentist who is a foreign trained dentist, meaning they have completed their undergraduate program, BDS, in a different country, will go through a couple of steps before coming to the DDS. There are very few dentists who actually apply right out of BDS to a DDS program in the US. What are these steps? I've got them here in this beautiful illustration. A few people might complete a MDS or a postgraduate program, a residency program back in their home country right after BDS. A couple of others might do what we call a bridge course, like a master's in public health or a master's in healthcare administration in the US, and a few others we know have also done them in other developed countries like the Europe. There are a couple of people who want to go through what we call residency programs, and there are two entry pathways to this. One is through the PASS program and one is through what we call residency match. This could be something like orthodontics or prosthodontics, a specialization which has a limited license and you can only practice in a few states in the US. A couple of others might start working, and while you can work in several professions, if you want to work in something that's highly aligned with dentistry, you might want to be a dental assistant. Again, being a dental assistant requires two things. One is a favorable license. This license you need to get by completing an exam, and then you can start practicing as a dental assistant. And the second one you need is a favorable visa. A favorable visa is a work visa that requires an employment authorization. I'm not going to get into the specifics of which visas will give you employment authorization, but without that, it's not possible to work for wages in the US. So once you go through all these steps, you can probably apply to a DDS. A DDS is also an equivalent of an undergraduate program in the US, but places you directly as a doctor and you can start practicing. The important caveat here is all of these steps do not need to be completed to come to the US. You can directly skip and apply right after BDS. And there are a few students who actually apply in their third or final years in the BDS undergraduate program. But if you want to improve your profile and you think your chances are low, especially if you think your GPA is low, you might want to take one or two of these additional steps to make a much more compelling and impactful profile as you apply to your DDS program. Having said that, let's move to the next topic. The next topic is, what are the factors that you must consider before leaving? Or what are the factors that you must consider to decide the timing of when you should leave? There are a couple of factors. The foremost is obviously going to be cost. What is your capacity to spend? In financial terms, we call this the ability to leverage, or the financial bandwidth that you have to spend. It's good to have at least $10,000 planned before you apply to DDS to make sure you're able to spend through all the expenses, apply to as many schools as you want, and take some bridge courses that will make your profile very compelling. The next one you would want to think about is your GPA. Now, you should understand that a full score, a full GPA in the US does not exactly equate to a full GPA in your home country. Even if you do not have a full 10 on 10 GPA back in your home country, you can still have a 4-point GPA on the ECE. Just make sure once you've applied to ECE or WES, your GPA is pretty high, like a 3.6 or above on 4, to know that you are in the competitive pool of applicants who can get into school. If your GPA is however low, in the danger zone, like maybe below 3, you might want to take a bridge course that can level out your overall GPA before you apply to DDS. The next one you think about is what we call risk capacity. Now, while for most people risk is only about the financial constraint that we talked about in the starting, a couple of others would think about risk in terms of age, They have other commitments they'll have to think about. They'll have other dependents they'll have to serve, and so on. So try to gauge what is your capacity of risk and use that as a final deadline to think when to leave. Moving on from risk, we have something which is pretty critical, which is your marital status and dependence. This would also kind of fall into risk, so I'm not going to elaborate further. The last two are going to be US support systems and your enriched profile. Now, when we talk about US support system, it's important to think about your relatives and friends who are presently living in the US or working as students in the US. Whichever life stage they are in, based on that, you might know whether they'll be able to support you. For example, if your cousin is a student, he may not be able to exactly support you, but he can help you with the application process. Whereas if your uncle is working there, he might have a room in his garage to support you. So kind of think through your support system and use that to determine when to leave. The last two are pretty simple. An enriched profile. Do you have what it takes in terms of holistic experience to apply to the US? Do you have maybe research experience? Do you have maybe volunteering and traveling experience? Do you have good scores across multiple tests, qualifying tests like the ADAT and the board exams? And then what is your final resilience? So use this 7-point scale to kind of understand what is the right time to apply, and then go through the multiple steps required before you apply DDS. Thank you.